الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر كلا لا وزر إلى ربك يومئذ المستقر ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه كلا بل يحبون العاجلة ويذرون الآخرة وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة ووجوه يومئذ باسرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق فلا صدق ولا صلى ولكن كذب وتولى ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يكن طفة من مني تمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد أحبتي في الله, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly the way He deserves to be praised. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil within our souls and the consequences of our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can lead astray. And whomsoever Allah allows to go astray because they do not want any guidance, then no one can guide. And I bear witness, as you bear witness, that there is no deity worthy of our worship except Allah. He has no partners. And I bear witness, as you bear witness, that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant, His slave, and His messenger. We ask Allah to exalt His mention, grant Him peace, and send His blessings and salutations upon him, upon his companions, his wives, and all those who follow them on their path of righteousness until the day of recompense. As to what follows, I do not intend by this discussion tonight to be calling you to attribute yourself to any sect or to call yourself by any particular name or to become a membership card holder of any particular group. In fact, you would be surprised how much that was rejected and looked down upon and frowned upon by our righteous predecessors. Ibn Abbas, as Ibn Battah narrates in Al-Iban Al-Sughra, he said, radiyallahu anhu, whoever acknowledges any of these invented names, he has removed the knot of Islam from his neck. The people that are running around with calling themselves names, and I'm going to make an exception, the term Salafi. You're going to set that on the side because there's a further discussion regarding that name in particular and using it and not using it, which is open to discussion. But let's set that on the side and discuss all these other names that the people proudly call themselves and ascribe themselves to and promote and propagate, and they ask you to become one of them. According to Ibn Abbas, they have removed the knot of Islam from their neck. Imam Malik said the people of the Sunnah do not have a title by which they are identified. Not Jahmi, not Qadari, not Rafidi, none of those. Maymun ibn Mahran said, woe to you from every name and title except that of Islam. Malik ibn Mighwal said, if a man calls himself by other than Islam and the Sunnah, then assign him or attribute him to any religion you wish. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, these are the names that are false, which Allah has sent down no authority regarding. Then he went on to say, it is upon a Muslim to reply if he is asked about these names. He mentioned the names that were spread during his time, such as Shakili and Qarfandi. He said, I am neither Shakili or Qarfandi. Rather, I am a Muslim, following the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Muslim believers are the servants of Allah. So we do not turn away from the names given to us by Allah to names that were innovated by people and their forefathers, which Allah sent down no authority in their regard. And this is found in Majmu' al-Fatawa. If we were to continue quoting the ulama, then we will be here for a long time. And you may say, how is that connected to Manhaj al-Dawah? Well, the first thing in Manhaj al-Dawah is that we need to understand, what are we calling the people to? Is it calling people to a person, a sheikh, a group of mashayikh, or to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because here's what happens. It begins with an invitation to the deen of Allah, and then it could easily shift into an invitation to other than the deen of Allah, where sectarianism creeps into the discussion. And many brothers, may Allah forgive us and forgive them, have fallen into this trap. So we have to call a spade a spade. Sometimes being ambiguous in speech or beating around the bush, it may cater for some people, but it will leave others confused. Sometimes you just have to be blunt. Sometimes you have to be transparent. Sometimes you have to say it as it is. And people accepting and rejecting is not on us. While this may displease people, well, I have a surprise for you. The disbelievers and the messengers were displeased with them as well. The messengers were giving da'wah to Tawheed, and their people would fight them and call them names. Look at any prophet mentioned in the Quran, and look at the struggles he had to go through in spite of showing people miracles. He was doing things that no man can do. Allah Azza wa Jal gave him divine signs for the people to approve of them, and yet the people rejected them. So at some point after you convey the truth, it is not upon you what happens afterwards, but it is upon you to convey the truth. It is upon you to make matters clear for the people. Because when you look at da'wah today, wallahi, it is heartbreaking. It's agonizing to look at the da'wah scene. We have many characters, many personalities, many methodologies, and the level of confusion is at an all-time peak, where even people that were once clear upon what they were, they now themselves are getting confused, or they're being swayed in one direction or another. And you can afford to lose anything in this world. You can afford to lose your spouse. You can afford to lose your child. You can afford to lose your parents. You can afford to lose your property, your wealth, but you cannot afford to lose the hidayah of Allah. The guidance of Allah, no one can make it up for you. Any of the other things I mentioned can be made up. In fact, you can get even more. Ayyub alayhi salam, he was deprived of so many things through the test Allah tested him. But when Allah Azza wa Jal gave him, He gave him ahlahu wa mithlahu ma'ahu. They gave him his family and more, double the family. Double the things that he had lost were given as compensation to him. And in everything you do, you could get more, twice, thrice, quadruple of something that you lose. But hidayah, the concept of guidance is one that no man can touch. And you know this from your own life. How many people do you wish that Allah will guide them, that are close to you? You've been giving them da'wah for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and every day you remind them, please do this, please don't do that. And it falls on deaf ears. And to you, the matter is clear like the sun, like this is halal or this is haram. To you, it's clear like the sun. You will make an oath at the Kaaba that this is a clear-cut matter. But for the recipient, they don't see eye to eye, they don't understand, they don't agree, and you find yourself going around in circles and suffering and struggling to convey the message. But if Allah does not want to guide them, then you cannot guide them. Therefore, the matter of guidance is of utmost importance, and that is in the forefront of everything that we do. Whatever I want to do, I could cater for people, I could be flexible, I could be easygoing, but if it's going to conflict with the guidance of Allah being compromised, then no entity on earth deserves it or is worth that sacrifice. Allah established this right in the Quran with regarding your own parents. Who can cite an ayah about your parents trying to call you to disbelief? I know you know, inshallah. Can anyone think of an ayah where Allah tells us, even if your parents are calling you to disbelief? وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي. And if both of Allah says that we have enjoined upon mankind dutifulness to the parents, then look at the scenario and the situation. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ is in the dual. Both of them are striving and struggling against you. لِتُشْرِكَ بِي, so that you will associate with me, and the speaker is Allah Azza wa Jal. If both of your parents are making efforts day and night, 24/7, they're trying to invite you to other than the guidance, other than Islam. مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, that which you have no knowledge of, because anything other than Islam is that which you have no knowledge of, that which is deviance. فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا, do not obey them. But وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, but be kind to them in this worldly life. Meaning your parents have such a right over you that even if they called you to kufr, you're supposed to maintain their right of respecting them and loving them, the natural love, and giving them the treatment that they deserve. But when it comes to matter of compromising the deen, even your own parents, I cannot do it. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience to any creation of Allah if it entails disobeying the Creator. So this is where we draw the line. This is where we draw the line. But the guidance that Allah has given us, we cannot afford to lose it. Why am I saying this? Because we have seen people that were on guidance and then they swerved. Some went a little bit right. Someone went too much to the right. Some went left and some made a U-turn. A complete U-turn. Some left Islam altogether. They were first staunch and adamant and this and this and that, and then you keep violating the guidance and the principles of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the way of the Salaf. You continue to play around with them, you will eventually find yourself on a one-way ticket to the opposite direction, and no one can bring you back. No one can bring you back. So we've seen many characters who have come and are going or have gone because of not adhering to the proper methodology of giving da'wah. So da'wah is the most honorable occupation in this world. Wallahi, the caller to Islam, which should be you next, is better than the doctor, the engineer, the professor, the biochemist, whoever you think of that the people hold in high esteem, a professor or a doctor with 3-4 PhDs and masters, he is nothing compared to a caller to Islam. Because he's only calling you to a dunya. When he dies, it's all said and done. Let's say when they bury him, they put with him his 4 PhDs. When Munkar and Nakir ask him, Man Rabbuk wa ma dinuk, wa madha taqulu fi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can he use his certifications and credentials and qualifications to help him with the answer? No. He could be the most knowledgeable person, memorize dictionaries. It's not going to help. It will do nothing for this individual. Whereas the person who is involved in da'wah, which is an obligation on all of us, ya akhwan, we need to remove this idea of sheikh, what you brothers love to call the one who gives you a lecture, and I'm just a regular person. We need to understand that we're all in the same pool here. You and I are the same. What I'm doing, you're supposed to be doing. One difference could be that I'm behind a microphone and you're doing it with your neighbors, with your colleagues at work, in your environment. It doesn't have to be that you get, this is one form of da'wah, is to give a lecture. And it doesn't have to be the most profitable or the most successful or the most authentic. It doesn't have to be. In fact, there's more fitna in doing this than other things. Why? Because your sincerity is being slapped around. You understand? Your ikhlas, which you strive for, is being put on the line. You come, people see you, oh Shaykh, salaam alaikum, good to see you, hugs and kisses. And you think yourself that you're a mosquito. And then the people are making you feel that you're a fly, a little bit bigger than a mosquito. It messes with your brain. So it's a fitna, it's a fitna. That's why a lot of these individuals that were nobodies, and then their stage became bigger, and they became more popular, they sold the deen. They literally sold the deen. And they have no problem turning da'wah into money making, an advertisement, boxing, fighting, acting. Yalla. Ay mahshi fi ay hilla. Anything that you see, any stuffing you food, you put it in any pot and you cook it. Everything in the name of da'wah. A mix of philosophy with mockery of the scholars, with undermining the maharib Allah Azza wa Jal. And then this is called that, because when you become popular, your brain goes cuckoo. You go crazy unless Allah keeps you firm. We cannot afford to play with this stuff. So you have an obligation, like I have an obligation, to be giving da'wah. And therefore everything I'm saying is applicable to each and every one of you. And it's not okay that you've been Muslim for more than 2 years. I'm guessing most of you have been Muslim for more than 2 years. That you haven't shared this beautiful message of Islam with others. Imagine if you've been Muslim for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Or you're one of our uncles. This whole time, we couldn't fulfill one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً, convey of me to the people, even if it's one ayah of the Quran, one ayah. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, one ayah. You tell me, brother, I don't know what it means. I say what I've said before, brother, you are the first one who needs da'wah. You should at least know that. So do something about it. If you say, I cannot explain Qul Huwallahu Ahad to someone else, I need an explanation myself, thank you for being honest and sincere. Let's begin with you. What's holding you back from learning Islam? Oh brother, I'm busy. Excuse me? I'm busy. Busy doing what? The most ridiculous answer in the world is I'm busy. It doesn't, by the way, no one is this busy. No one on earth is this busy. I'm just going to break it down for you mathematically for those who love math. How many hours a day do you have, ya Shaykh? 24 hours. How many hours do you sleep?
7 to 8 hours.
Tamam. Okay. Who's a koala bear sleeps for 15, 16? Most of you don't. I know some people who do, mashallah. We're going to give the average 8 hours a day. Fair enough? طيب. Now, you're either a student or you are an employee. Then, if you're a student, how many hours a day are you going? Your school, your university, high school, plus homework. How many hours is that? Give me honest answers and give me the max.
Minimum max like 6-7 hours.
6-7 hours? Anyone want to increase? Who's in university? Who goes studies even longer than that? Can we give 10? We'll give 10. Mashi? 10 hours, ya Shaykh al-Islam, 10 hours. You are, mashallah, tabarakallah, dedicated to the being an academic. Secular knowledge. You're studying, physics and chemistry and biology and the whole shebang. How many hours are we left with?
14 hours.
Huh?
14 hours if you...
No, 10 for studying in school and 8 sleeping. 6 hours. 6 hours, mind you, 6 hours, you're not sleeping, you've slept already, and you're not studying. Daqiqa. So, 6 hours a day. I'm going to exclude the weekend and the fact that it's your personal private time. Going to exclude that. 6 hours a day. You want to play for 2 hours. Let's say you're an athlete. MashaAllah. You go to the gym, pumping these weights, trying to become the next Sylvester Stallone. No problem. Enjoy yourself. You play football 2 to 3 hours. You play anything you want to do. You will have at least every single day 2 hours after you've eaten and played and slept and studied. 2 hours a day where you're doing absolutely nothing. How in the world do we not use these 2 hours to get closer to Allah and study Islam? Is a question you need to reflect on. Imagine now those 2 hours are multiplied by 7 days a week. That's 14 hours. Multiplied by 4 per month. That's how many? 28 plus 28. 56 hours. Should I continue? You're going to find out that you literally have hundreds of thousands of hours where you're doing absolutely nothing. But you're busy. Brother, I'm busy. What's up?
Some people just use that 2 hours for watching TikTok.
Even if you watch TikTok for 2 hours, you will still have 4 hours. You're not busy, Habibi. This is just called mismanagement of time. Or, let me be more frank, priorities. It is priorities. It's the TikTok is a lot easier to watch a million videos back to back until your brain goes... Your brain doesn't even understand what you're seeing anymore. All kinds of funky stuff that comes up in front of you. This is assuming, mashallah, there's control about the halal. Yani halal content. Assuming no women are there, no music is there, everything is 5 stars. It's about priorities, ya akhwan. We don't have the dawah and learning Islam is not on the agenda of priorities. We're busy with other stuff. But it is not acceptable. It is not acceptable because we all have to do our role in the society. You brothers living in the West also have a particular situation that is unlike the other Muslims living in Muslim world, the Muslim land. Even though, mashallah, many of you have managed to turn some of these cities into Muslim cities. I mean, sometimes I feel like the original people here are living in your area and not the other way around. Right? Which is good. Jazakumullah khair, you have good control, you've managed. But then again, how many local people that are non-Muslims have you actually given da'wah to? You individually, between your people in school or your friends in school or your colleagues at work or the neighbor next to you who doesn't know anything about you except that you park your car to block his. The only time you have an interaction is when he has to ring you or hung the horn. Ya ammi, shil sayyartak. You're like, oh, sorry, because you're used to double parking and triple parking. Because we have these habits as Muslims that negate the core of Islam. They are repulsive and they scare people away from Islam, but we've become accustomed to them like it's all good. It's not all good, ikhwan. It is not all good. This is bad da'wah. This is bad da'wah. And therefore, we need to set these priorities and understand that the only successful way to live Islam is according to the Sahaba. I could easily, as they say, cite a good 4 or 5 evidences and bore you with my speech, or we can make this a little bit more interactive and have you help me out. I'm tired. I've been traveling for a few days. I need your assistance. Who can think of ayat that mention the importance of following the companions of Allah's Messenger ﷺ, and that we cannot do anything outside of that spectrum? One at a time, ikhwan. One at a time. I cannot handle so many people answering me simultaneously. جزاك الله خيرا يا أرشد. والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. This ayah which we read passively, like it's just any ayah, is not a regular ayah in that sense. In terms of the message that is delivering about the methodology of da'wah, it is one of the most fundamental ayats, period. Because it is describing 2 groups of people that all of you know. Al-Muhajirin, the immigrants or the migrants, the ones who were living where? In Mecca. And they had to leave. Imagine, ya akhwan, Islam was being persecuted to the level that what did they have to do? Did they stay there and get beat? No, they left. The Prophet ﷺ, who loved Mecca, left his hometown. Why? Because Islam teaches you wisdom, priorities, benefits, harms, advantages, disadvantages. You have to weigh things out. It's not always as black and white as we would like it to be. Al-Muhajirin, those who migrated. And Ansar, from Nusra, from Nasr, victory. Meaning those who gave a victory, i.e. helped them, the helpers. Then Allah did not suffice these 2 categories. Who did He add? Everybody that will follow them in their goodness until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And further, Allah gave us already the stamp of approval when He said, Radiyallahu anhum, Allah is pleased with them. And as if it's important, and it is important, but not as important, وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, and they are pleased with Allah. Even though Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa taqaddasat asma'uhu does not need our approval or being pleased with Him. If Allah will, He will place us all in the hellfire, and none of us can say a word. No one can say a word. No one can say, what is this? What's going on? You don't have any authority. Who are you? But Allah Azza wa Jal is merciful, gracious, just. So no one is placed in Jahannam arbitrarily without having chosen to go to Jahannam by violating, whatever they're not supposed to violate. So Allah said that they are pleased, He is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. So the question you should ask yourself, are you following the way of the Muhajirin and the Ansar? When Allah says, وَمَن يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولِ مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. Whoever opposes the messenger after the truth has become manifest to him and follows a path other than that of the believers. Who were the believers when this ayah was revealed? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Abu Musa, Abu Huraira, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. All of these were the Sahaba. When this ayah was revealed, the mu'mineen were the Sahaba. Allah did not only say whoever opposes the messenger, because that would be sufficient as a violation, and also follows a path other than that of the believers, we will allow him to adopt the path that he has chosen, and we will cast him into the hellfire, and what an evil destination it is. So Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, whoever says that you don't have to follow the way of the Sahaba, he is also saying that you don't have to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Because Allah mentioned them back to back, and you're trying to segregate them and separate them. Therefore, following the way of the Sahaba is fundamental. When the Prophet ﷺ said, Khayrun nas qarni, the best of mankind ever is my generation. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُم, then those who will come after them, and then those who will come after them. That's the first three generations of Muslims. The best of people. The scholars say the exception is other prophets and messengers. The other prophets and messengers are better than the Sahaba. But the Sahaba are better than all of the disciples and the followers of all the other messengers. Meaning the followers of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ are better than the followers of other messengers because of the superiority of Islam and the Prophet ﷺ over the other messengers. How do we combine this khayriyah with understanding of the deen? Pay attention to the link here. So Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ said, khayru, pay attention, khayru an-nas qarni. So what does Allah say about the one whom He gives understanding of the religion? No. Hadith. Did I say Allah? Yeah, I meant the Prophet ﷺ. What hadith do we have about if Allah wants goodness for you, what does He do for you?
He gives you the understanding of it.
Ahsant. Jazakallahu khairan. Pay attention to the words now. مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. He gives them understanding of the deen. So if Allah wants goodness for you, khair, He will give you understanding of the deen. The Prophet ﷺ said the khayrun nas are the Sahaba. What does that mean? They had the best understanding of the deen. If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. Are you with me? So they clearly understood Islam better than anybody and everybody. So when we come and look at all the groups that we have today, and we could turn this into a vicious lecture where I call them out by name and by speaker and by whatever, or we could insinuate and you understand. Look at any one of these groups today that proudly call themselves whatever name they have assigned for themselves. Are they following the way of the Sahaba? Did the Sahaba ever have a discussion with the Prophet ﷺ about Allah's names and attributes? Did they ever say that this ayah does not mean this and this is a figurative speech and this is not intended? Did they ever delve into those matters? Nope. When He told them that Allah descends to the lowest heaven every last third of the night, no one inquired about any further detail. And no one said it doesn't mean that. And no one said it means the mercy of Allah. When He told them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laughs, as in the authentic hadith, no one objected to the Prophet ﷺ. When he asked the slave girl, where's Allah, Ayn Allah, and she pointed to the heavens and said, Fis sama, no one inquired further and said direction, not direction, and moving from one location to another. All of these philosophical discussions that happen today among the Muslims, especially those deviant denominations among the Muslims, they are following a way other than the pure way of the Sahaba. And once you follow that way, then you are in trouble, my friend. You are in trouble. You are gambling with your deen. Did the Prophet ﷺ use philosophy to invite people to Islam? Can you mention one ayah, one hadith that introduces philosophy? Never. Allah made the most basic, logical argument of reason regarding the people you want to debate. Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in am humul khaliqun am khalaqu as-samawati wal ard. Were you created by nothing? Or did you create yourself? Or did you create the heavens and the earth? That's the end of the discussion. Any joker on the other side who wants to now take you through the world play gymnastics of contingency and with this, or molecules, or gravity, all this is bluff. All this is negating the fitrah that Allah placed in us, that there's La ilaha illallah, which we all attested to. كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, every newborn is born upon the natural disposition. ثُمَّ أَبَوَاهُ. Then it is his environment, his parents, his whatever. يُهَوِّدَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ أَوْ يُمَجِّسَانِهِ. They make him a Jew or a Christian or a Magian. That's all that you need. You don't need to read books of philosophers and understand all of these very, confusing arguments and all of these fancy words that 60%, 70% of the audience don't even understand. Just so that we can all appear like a bunch of intellectuals. Yes, I'm an intellectual, I'm an academic, I have studied this and I've written this book. Khalas, ya Shaykh. Khalas, simplify the lives of the people, ya Rajul. This is not da'wah, this is not the Sahaba. The Sahaba were the most humble of people. They go debate with someone and act like a fool. They didn't even debate aslan. Debating was not from the way of the righteous predecessors in the beginning. If you really want to understand the methodology of da'wah, the first thing you do is eliminate debates. Debates are allowed under very limited circumstances with very highly qualified people and within closed doors. You don't open it to the whole world. Why? Because the representative of the truth may be underqualified. And this is, I'm conveying to you the statements of the scholars. Sheikh Abdul Aziz Farhan and Sheikh Salih Hasindi, both of them said the same thing, among many others. Don't entertain those debates and make them this kind of public display, confuse the people. A person was living peacefully, you bring 50 doubts to him. This doubt, then this doubt, then that doubt, then this doubt. And then the person was supposed to reply to the doubts because of the nature of moderated debates. This one screaming, he took my time, stop, pause, the internet went down. You are left with 3-4 doubts that no one addressed. And the one that you're cheering for, he doesn't know how to answer them in the first place. The miskeen doesn't even have the Quran memorized and doesn't even have the hadith memorized. He just did some research on Google and came with this fatwa, came with this da'wah. This is what's happening. And you are placing yourself in this predicament, hoping that you could, it's like you're telling someone, throw me in the middle of the ocean, and yalla, inshallah, I will make it, inshallah. Ya akhi, you don't know how to swim. Ma fi mushkila, maybe a boat will come by. Maybe a seagull will see me and come and pull me out of the water. Eish al-afkar, what kind of crazy ideas are these? Stop being, what is the term? Negligent or obnoxious or reckless about your deen. So the methodology of the da'wah is the way of the Sahaba. It was not about debating. When the Khawarij came about with their fitna, in al-hukmu illa lillah, and the judgment only for Allah, and you letting other people judge, who went to them? Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, the most senior and the most knowledgeable among the Sahaba in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ made dua for him, Allahumma give him understanding, the wheel of the Quran, the interpretation of the Quran. Ibn Abbas went to them. And yet, the majority of them did not respond to him. A good number accepted his da'wah and the rest rejected. And it wasn't a debate per se. It was delivering the message. It's just like a situation like this could arise. Someone tells us, some people say this, yeah, we'll go to them and try to talk to them. But to turn it into an official professional debate, as they do them today, where money is being collected and what have you, this is a completely different discussion. Otherwise, it is not from the way of the righteous predecessors to engage in debating or to argue with the people of bid'ah on regular basis. You have to do iqamat al-hujjah. I establish a proof against the person. I deliver the truth. But the constant back and forth is counterproductive. It is counterproductive. However, when we do not follow these very strict guidelines, then we are exposing ourselves to deviance. So either you are, and my speech doesn't apply to everyone, There are certain people in certain position in the community where they have to handle this matter of dealing with the people of bid'ah and making sure that the situation in the community is under control. We have to differentiate between a sheikh, a student of knowledge, a caller to Islam, a public speaker, and a person of authority in a masjid, and then the layman. They're not all at the same level. So some of the things that are being said may not apply to certain individuals because of their unique situation. But the general message is for the general people, that we need to be wary and stick to the way of the Sahaba. So here are some things that we learn from the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ in regards to giving da'wah. The first and foremost, what is the first thing that the scholars always speak about when it comes to this issue? When you want to give da'wah, what's the first thing that you focus on? Ikhlas. Can you translate, ya Shaykh? Sincerity, excuse me. Is it me or is it hot in here? It is me and it is hot, صح? It's a combination of both. Ikhlas, sincerity, what does that mean? Doing the actions for the sake of Allah. I did something for the sake of Allah, but I also wanted to make a little bit of fulus, some dinero along with it. Ma'adi? No? Oh, you put us all in danger. So I'm not saying that. Let's say I authored a book. I'm not talking about getting paid for lectures. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, by Allah's grace, I never ever charged any money to give da'wah to Islam. This is a global disclaimer for my entire da'wah career. Never, alhamdulillah, ask anybody for any money for da'wah, because you don't want to be compensated. But the problem with what you said, Shaykh, is that if I wrote a book, Zain, and my intention is to spread Islam, and I sold the book, I made a little bit of money, and you just took out the ikhlas altogether from the equation and threw the brother in the fire. So we need to do tafsil. Tfaddal. You have to what? طيب. This is a wonderful answer, but this answer is like me asking you what's your favorite car and you tell me I like lasagna. We're talking about sincerity. You took like the beginning of the lecture and you added as an answer. Nice try, Sheikh. Captain?
It's like making sure, like, firmly believing that God is the only worship, and like Islam is the only religion, and God, the Prophet is the
Okay, that's fine. It's a long lecture answer, but I want to address his concern or his answer. You wrote a book, you write a book, and you sell this book, and you make money from this book. Is your sincerity being questioned?
Your niyyah is being questioned because the thing is when you because if you your niyyah is being questioned because you're doing it for money, because you're selling it. You could have just given it a receipt and you would have got a reward from Allah, but instead you decided to sell it and you just got money. So you went for the dunya benefits.
Allahu Akbar. Enough. You're going to throw us all in the fire. Enough. All right, let's this. Jazakallah khair. That's a good answer. Actually, what you're saying could apply to certain individuals, but we need to be very careful. This is why knowledge is important, and what the scholars say, tafsil. Yani some answers cannot be like 1 + 1 = 2, right? You can never answer certain questions so easily. This is one of the questions that you can never answer so easily. So we cannot give a stamp of approval to everybody or a stamp of rejection to everybody. It actually depends on a number of variables. A number of variables have to be assessed, evaluated by people of knowledge, and then they say, if you do this with that and then this happens, then you have to be concerned, otherwise it's okay. Fundamentally speaking, we have to look first at the evidence. Before we say anything, what's the evidence that there's a problem with ikhlas if it's missing? Is the hadith al-Qudsi. What does Allah say? أَنَا أَغْنَى الشُّرَكَاءِ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ فَمَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَشْرَكَ فِيهِ مَعَيَ غَيْرِ تَرَكْتُهُ وَشِرْكَهُ. Allah says, I'm the most self-sufficient of having any partners. Whoever does a deed associating therefore others with me, I will abandon him and his polytheism or his association. What does that mean? That means, ya akhi, when you're praying, you come to the masjid and you pray. Zain, you're praying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The shaitan will come and tell you, stand properly and look at the place of sujood and look like you are in the state of taqwa. So when the people walk by, they will think, MashaAllah, tabarakallah, the shaykh is next level musalli. Now, Even though you started off praying for the right purpose, once you've entertained those foreign ideas about the people looking at you and feeling a certain way about you, you've basically thrown your ikhlas in the trash and you no longer will be rewarded for this deed. Allah does not want this kind of deed. Are we clear? Somebody wants to give sadaqah. You want to help a miskin. But they only help a miskin when somebody from the masjid sees them. They roll down the window. And then it's almost like, take a picture of me giving the miskin some money. La ya akhi. If you really want to be sincere, what does the hadith say? حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمُ شِمَالُهُ مَا تُنْفِقُ يَمِينُهُ. You hide your sadaqah so much that your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is spending. You're almost like you're hiding it from yourself. You're hiding it from yourself. As for matters of da'wah, such as a person making a course to teach Muslims, and he wants to be compensated for the course, this does not conflict with ikhlas. This does not conflict with ikhlas at all, and these are not the same. But like you said, a person may be doing the course primarily for what? For the money, and he thought that giving da'wah is a good tool. There's demand, you know, the supply and demand concept. Oh, there's a market for it, so now he just gets involved in this because that's where the money's at. That's a different story. Otherwise, a scholar or people of knowledge may author books, and they may sell these books, and they may give courses and what have you. They may teach in a university Islam. Otherwise, according to us or some of you brothers, all of the mashayikh who work in the university and teach, their sincerity is also being compromised. Because they're teaching you the deen and they're also getting paid. It's their job. He's the professor in university. Are we on the same page? Tamam. Anyway, sincerity though, like I said, is a very delicate matter. It's very fragile. So you cannot afford to mess with it. You always have to remind yourself that the people don't matter. No matter how much the people praise you, they will not be able to admit you to paradise. And no matter how much they criticize you, they will not be able to admit you to hell. Therefore, who cares what everybody thinks? Who cares? Who cares? If everybody cheered you on, say, oh, the best person in the world, and then Allah threw you in Jahannam, well, none of them can do anything for you. And vice versa. So whenever you do a good deed, remember that these people are masakin like you. They're poor people like you. Poor to Allah, I mean. Therefore, their approval or their rejection is absolutely irrelevant. Pay no mind to them. Focus on doing things for the sake of Allah. Everything is for the sake of Allah. The shaitan will not leave you alone. He will not leave you alone. He will interfere. He will try to mess you up. You seek refuge with Allah from the shaitan and you refocus on your sincerity. But don't you ever reach a point where, oh, you know what, I don't think I'm doing this for the sake of Allah, I'm going to quit. The shaitan now has taken over. You've literally surrendered and put up the white flag. Here, shaitan, I'm not going to give da'wah anymore, you win. No, you're not having that. I'm not giving you that. I will struggle against my intention, I will continue to give da'wah. And you need to be quiet and sit on the side. I have good assumption about Allah. Here comes husn al-dhan billah, good assumption about Allah. Allah knows how much I'm struggling to be sincere. Allah will not make my effort go to waste. Because it's a very thin line. Number two, you have to be just. If you want to give da'wah according to the way of the righteous predecessors, you have to be just. And that means even your enemies. You don't lie, fabricate, exaggerate just because you have beef with someone or you disagree with someone. So we know, for example, this certain denomination of Muslims have all kinds of wicked belief and worship, acts of worship that they've invented. And I want to call it out and advise them and criticize them and refute them, which is part of the deen. Part of the deen is to call out all of this deviance. Because if you just want to be a teddy bear, a cute teddy bear who tells these bedtime stories, which is how many of these du'at are. Just a cute teddy bear telling you bedtime stories. Oh, if you love the Almighty will love you and your neighbors. If you open a restaurant, you will be selling sandwiches. If you walk 10 miles, you will burn 30 calories. Ish hada. But this is the da'wah. Anything to appease the people, and they say, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah, the sheikh. This is all foolishness, wallah. That's not da'wah. That's never been da'wah. Part of the da'wah is to tell the people Tawheed and be careful of shirk. It's in the entire, the Prophet ﷺ for 13 years was calling the people to Tawheed and warning them against shirk. And Allah said to him, لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لا يحبطن عملك ولا تكونن من الخاسرين. Imagine Allah saying to Allah's Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, the most virtuous of the creation of Allah, if you were to associate partners with me, your deeds will be invalidated and nullified, and you will be among the losers. No one is above shirk. No one. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. Allah does not forgive that partners are associated with Him. وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. He forgives whatever is lesser than that to whomever He wills. So the focus and the fundamental of Tawheed, of Dawah, is Tawheed and Shirk. Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa-Nahy anil Munkar. The most important Ma'ruf in the world is Tawheed. And the worst Munkar in the world is Kufr and Shirk. And this should be the core of your Dawah. Just like it was the core of the Dawah of the Prophet ﷺ. Who can tell me a Sahabi who was told to go give Da'wah to Tawheed? If you don't know, I might pack and leave. Ha, Shaykh? Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Where was he sent? To who? Ahlul Kitab. The Sahabi is, Alhamdulillah, the Sahabi is Mu'adh ibn Jabal, radiyallahu anhu wa arda. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent him to what? To where? Afwan? Yemen. What did he say to him? إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمًا أَهْلَ كِتَابِ. You are going to people from the people of the book. فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلْ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. In one word of the hadith. أَوْ أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ لَا يُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. That the first thing he called them to is لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. And that they should worship Allah and associate none worship Him. فَإِنْهُمْ أَطَاعُوكَ. If they obey you, pay attention, before you go to Salah, come pray, come pray, come pray. Before they go to Salah, first you have to establish Tawheed. If they obey you, then tell them Allah has made 5 daily prayers obligatory. If they obey you, tell them about zakah. Today they tell you, Ya akhi, come pray in the masjid. Inshallah, you call on all the dead people in the world. You go to the dargah and you go to the maqam of I don't know which Maulana here and there. And you call on him besides Allah. It doesn't matter. As long as you come to the masjid, say Allahu Akbar, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you're good to go. If you're good to go. How is that good to go? How is that? And Tawheed is lost in between the lines. Tawheed is gone. The amount of kufriyat and shirkiyat that have crept into the ummah are absolutely petrifying, scary. The things that the people say. People calling on Al-Hasan, Al-Husayn, Fatima, Al-Zahra, calling on other than Allah like it's like I drink water. Just like I drink water. This is how easy it is. Adi, they say Adi. What's the fuss about? What are you tripping about? It's okay, man. Islam is open for everybody. Everybody is good to go. No, Habibi, not everybody is good to go. This ummah will divide into 73 sects. All of them will go to the fire except one. Except one. And from out of each 1,999 will enter Jahannam. One will be saved. Some of the scholars say this includes the people of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, who will comprise a big number of mankind. But nevertheless, with or without, from each 1,000 ya akhwan, one person will go straight to Jannah. 999 will go to the fire first. Are you that one person? Do we have what it takes? Do we know the Tawheed of Allah, and do we know the shirk and its details so we can avoid it? You have to know both. Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman radhiyallahu anhu, he said the people used to ask the Prophet ﷺ about khair, and I used to ask him about shar makhafatan and yudrikani, out of fear that evil will catch me. The scholars say that means you have to learn good and you have to learn evil and learn how to avoid it. So the first thing is Tawheed has to be established and called. And Tawheed is never only one thing, that Allah is our creator. You know, the Jews and the Christians believe Allah is our creator. Their definition of Allah may vary, but they believe in a creator. So Tawheed is never just rububiyyah and everything else goes. No, it's also uluhiyyah, that only Allah deserves to be worshipped. And it's also asma and sifat, names and attributes of Allah. What do you believe about Allah? Do you acknowledge and approve the description Allah gave Himself in the Quran and the one the Prophet ﷺ gave Him in the Sunnah? Or are you among those who rejected in the name of following the way of I'm an Ash'ari? Like this brother was flaunting and proudly saying, I'm a real Ash'ari. Let me debate you. Have you no shame? You calling yourself by a name that Allah didn't reveal in the Quran and the Sunnah by a man who came hundreds of years after the Prophet ﷺ and who repented from his own belief. You're proudly, happily following a man who came up with his own, he took the Jahm bin Safwan belief, which was all disbelief. and he put it, inside a pot, and he got some Play-Doh. He got a little spoon, teaspoon of Play-Doh, and a bucket of Aristotle, and put them in the bucket together. Said, here we are. We have a new Aqidah. You cannot say Allah is this, and that, and you cannot attribute this to Allah. And the apparent meaning of the Quran is kufr. The apparent meaning of the Quran is kufr, according to them. No, you have to come up with new interpretations for these ayat, lest you attribute to Allah, anthropomorphism and human form. Ya Rajul, Allah says, Laysa kamithli shay, there's nothing like Allah. End of discussion. The problem with you is that you already likened Allah to His creation, and then you wanted to run away from what you've done. So you deny what you approved in the first place. Why go around in circles? So the names and attributes of Allah, you believing in those properly, is a prerequisite for you to be saved, and then you call the people to the same. As to give da'wah, your whole life you're just giving reminders, is deceiving. Especially if you're learned, especially if you're qualified, especially if you studied. If you're ignorant, may Allah help us and help all of us learn. But if you've actually studied and you're just silent, or you only speak about the parts of Islam which are non-controversial, because you don't like controversy, you want to be, happy and make everybody happy, wallah, you're deceiving the Muslims, and Allah will ask on Yawm al-Qiyamah, what did you do with this ilm that I gave you? It's an amana upon the people of knowledge to convey to the people Islam. Thirdly, loving and hating for the sake of Allah. Al-wala' wal-bara', allegiance and disavowal. Our allegiance are for the truth and the people of truth, and our disavowal from the falsehood and the people of falsehood, whether within the Muslim or outside of the Muslim. No one is more beloved to us than the truth. Your own father, no matter how much you love him, if it's going to conflict with the truth, you give precedence to the truth over your father. You reject your father respectfully because he's your father, but you adhere to the truth, because the truth is the most valuable thing that we have. Fourthly, we have to apply gentleness. And you may be saying, where's the gentleness in the speech? Yeah, Sheikh, you're not exactly gentle right now. Yes, because being gentle is the foundation principle that has exceptions. When the Prophet ﷺ would give khutbah, does anyone know how he was described? How was he described when he gave the Friday sermon? Hey, don't, you guys can play later. Who knows the description of the Prophet ﷺ when he would be on the mimbar? Ayah, Shaykh. His face would be red, his voice would be loud, he would become angry. The actual hadith says he becomes angry. He will become like a general in the army, saying to the people, Sabbahakum masakum, meaning they are going to attack you in the morning. Can you imagine? There's a bunch of soldiers, and the general of the army gets news that they will be attacked in the morning. Does he just walk in gently and tap him on the back? Hey, how's it going? Oh, by the way, the enemy is on the way. In a couple of hours, all of us will be wiped out and dead. Or does he come in this panic mode, screaming, yelling, everybody quick, get up, get ready, go this and that. The Prophet ﷺ, when he gave Friday sermon, this is how the Sahaba described him. This mimbar is not the place for a soft speech. Similarly, there are certain contexts where you have to be firm, stern, and straightforward. The Prophet ﷺ once saw a Sahabi wearing a golden ring. He yanked it out of his hand and threw it on the ground. And he said, does one of you deliberately put a ring of fire around his finger? The Sahaba said to the Sahabi, طيب خلاص, pick it up and you can sell it. You cannot wear it anymore, but you can sell it. He said, I were never to pick up something that the Messenger of Allah threw. Alayhi salatu wasalam. So the Prophet ﷺ knew that this Sahabi was one who would be receptive to this situation required that. And there are times when you have to be as gentle as you can be. What determines that? Wisdom, experience. Wisdom and experience. So you have to assess, evaluate the situation and see what would be suitable for the people right now. Are the people being too laxed so I pull a little bit harder? Or are the people receptive, so no need for that? This is within the Muslims. Within the non-Muslims, surely you have to apply gentleness and kindness. Fir'aun, the most wicked of Tawagheed and the most arrogant of disbelievers, who said to the people, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I am your Lord the Most High. مَا عَلِمْتُ لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرِي, I don't know of any other gods for you besides me. What did Allah say to Musa and Harun? فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, say to him a soft word. So when you're dealing with the non-Muslims, you have to completely alter your speech to accommodate the fact that they're non-Muslims and try to bring them to Islam. It is not about winning an argument. You're not there to win an argument. You prove to them that Jesus was not the Son of God, and that Trinity is false, and that the original sin is all fabricated, and crucifixion didn't happen, or resurrection didn't happen, and if you're an expert in this field. But it's not about winning the argument. It's about having this person come to Islam. A lot of times, a person who's given da'wah, he just wants to humiliate the opponent. Here, rub it in your face, you're jahil, you're ignorant, you don't know anything, Allah ruh angala amshi. You did not give da'wah, habibi. That is not the objective. That is not the objective. Sixthly, returning to the truth. Meaning, we are all going to make mistakes. كل ابن آدم خطاء وخير الخطائين التوابون. Every son of Adam is sinful, and the best of those who sin are those who repent. You can never ace it. No man was able to ace it. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best caller to Islam ever, Allah criticized certain events where he could have done better. Who knows the incident? I want the young kids besides you. Yes. أحسنت. عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى. عبس. This is عبس. تولى is to turn around. A blind man, the Prophet ﷺ was giving, everybody knows the context of the ayat. He was giving da'wah for people from the elite, influential people, Andrew Tate, type of people. If he becomes Muslim, supposedly the whole world is going to become Muslim after him. And then once he comes in, he winds up ruining 80% of what he had done. That's a different story. He was trying to give da'wah to these influential people, and as a Sahabi, blind, he came to ask the Prophet ﷺ certain questions, and the Prophet ﷺ frowned and turned away. The first thing, does a blind man see? Can the blind man see? If he could see, the Prophet ﷺ would not have done that, by the way, because he was known never to frown. He always had ibtisam, always had a smile in the face of the companions. But this was a man who could not see the frowning and the turning away. Who made it public information? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, by the way, one of the evidences of the truthfulness of Islam and the truthfulness of the Quran and the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ. Because if there's anything that he could remove, according to the disbelievers, he wrote the Quran, right? Why would he include the story? Why would he include the ones where Allah told him, لِمَ تُحَرِّمْ مَا أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ لَكَ? Why do you make haram what Allah made halal for you? And why would he mention the story of Zainab? That after Zayd finished with her, زَوَّجْنَاكَ, we made you marry her. He would have removed all of these controversial incidents from the Quran. But it's actually proof of the truthfulness of the Quran. So Allah criticized the Prophet ﷺ for not, the scholars say it's not a sin what he did. What the Prophet ﷺ did is not a sin because the man cannot see. But it is not the ideal approach. And Allah wants nothing but ideal for the Prophet ﷺ. So he informed him, or he gave him proper reprimand and direction in order to enhance. Meaning, and then we are all following the way of the Prophet ﷺ, we will have our share of mistakes. But when you do make a mistake, you need to always be brought back to the truth. Never become too arrogant against the truth. Don't go in the wrong way, and then because of your ego, you feel like, okay, I'm being corrected publicly, or my ego, or I'm being humiliated, and so you double down on wrong, in order not to back down. Wrong. The truth prevails over everybody. Let the truth prevail and submit to the truth and go back to it. The next point is having honesty, being honest, calling things the way they are, and being transparent with the Muslims. Sometimes the people have a certain confusion, and you trying to avoid giving a direct answer will create further confusion. So when the situation allows, you need to be straightforward in everything that you deliver regarding Islam. And remember, that doesn't mean that you don't take into consideration context. You don't take into consideration context, meaning there are certain places in the world where you cannot speak your mind, right? We always hear about freedom of speech. But is there really freedom of speech in the world? No. Freedom of speech in the world is double standard. When the Muslims speak, when we say whatever we want to say, we get in trouble. Oh, you cannot speak about this or that or those. But when everybody speaks about us, no problem. They give them thumbs up and tap them on the back and say, bravo, keep going. So surely this supposed freedom of expression is a one-way, one-sided. It is not two-sided. Okay, so let's say you are in a context or situation where you're being scrutinized. It is not from wisdom or bravery to speak about things that will dig a bigger hole for you. And it is not cowardice that you avoid certain things which may be problematic. But you have to weigh the benefits and the harms and consider the context and the attendees and the situation and know what to say, what not to say according to the overall situation. I'm saying this because some people think being a sincere da'i is that you say anything that comes to your mind with no reservation. That is not from the way of the righteous predecessors. That is not the manhaj of da'wah. That you are unhinged. Unhinged. I'm strong. I'm brave. I'll say anything to anyone at any point in time. Habibi, you have a new religion other than Islam. Islam does not allow you to speak about your parents. Islam does not allow you to speak about your fellow brother. Islam does not allow you to speak about the Muslim rulers. Islam does not allow you a lot of things. All of these negate freedom of speech. Islam does not allow the wife to say anything she wants to her husband. There are certain things that are appropriate, certain things that are not appropriate. Islam put very strict guidelines on what can be said, what cannot be said. And you need to adhere to them. So we don't have this unhinged kind of approach to da'wah. And when you see someone just being obnoxious like this, then you need to be concerned. And the people should advise this person. Look man, you might cause bigger harm. You might shut down a whole community. A whole community can be shut down from speaking about Islam because of one person just being completely, irrational. And then all the khair which is happening at a certain level is gone. So sometimes, there's a principle in Islam, it's called irtikabu aqall ad-dararain. Or you commit the lesser of two evils. There are two evils that are inevitable. One is great, one is lower. You commit the lesser of two evils and no one can blame you because there's no third option, aslan. Again, all of this suggests what? It suggests that you need to refer these matters to the scholars. It suggests that we need guidance, that we need to learn. So what I've been doing thus far, whenever I go to a masjid, is I make the same reminder that I need to hear myself, and that my children need to hear, and that I believe all of us need to hear. And that is to adamantly and effectively and consistently create a learning environment for the Muslims. All of us need to learn our deen on regular basis. I don't care if you create an institute, if you invite a sheikh, not just a reminder. No, you actually study Islam. You join a reliable organization. You listen to reliable people of knowledge, whether they're speaking in English or they speak in Arabic. You actually go that extra mile. But this is something that has to be made available at all times, and all of us have a role to play. We cannot remain docile, or our connection with the masjid is you come pray and then you go back home, and then the next time we see you is when one dies and you meet the brother at the funeral. That's really what happens more often than not. We have these very minimal interactions in the masjid. Assalamu alaikum, assalam, kayf al-hal, alhamdulillah, tamam, how's the family, okay? Khalas. Then you don't see the brother, you have nothing to do with him until someone dies. Then you go give him condolences. Where's the brotherhood? Where's the brotherhood? But if there were activities pertaining to knowledge and learning, then this will create this kind of environment where the people will be coming together and learning together and create a bond that otherwise cannot be created. Then this masjid or these other masajid, they will produce, inshallah, like this young man, bi'idhnillah, may Allah bless him, people that are learning Islam effectively and with eagerness, with zeal, and then they will fulfill the obligation of da'wah. They will deliver the da'wah to our family, to the people in our societies, and Islam will prevail. Because look, Islam is going to prevail whether you and I do it or do the job or not. Jazakallah khair. Already? I'll finish with this. Islam will prevail whether you and I get involved or not. If all of us fail, what will Allah do? Who knows the ayah? Do I look like Zakir Naik to you? I'm not endorsing Zakir Naik, by the way. But that became a trend. You know, mention the references of the ayat. I need the ayah, ya Shaykh. وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn away, Allah will replace you with other people and they will not be like you. So if all of us don't do the job, no problem. All of us will be replaced. Allah will replace all of us. It will bring other people. They'll be 10 times better than us. So it's a train. It's a train that's moving. Either you catch it and you make it to your destination, or you miss it and you will just watch it go away. And the people who are going to the other destination will have a feast and they will eat and they will play, and you're at the train station waiting for nothingness. Khalas, there's one train. Once it's gone, it's gone. You're stuck behind with, just wind and snow. So the train of Islam is moving. You're either going to catch it and do your role in this community, each one of you, and not everybody's da'wah is what I'm doing. Again, you could be a person of influence, so you use your position to help the Muslims. You could be a person who's got money, wealthy, you use your money to help the Muslims. You could be a person working in a certain departments in the country where your presence there is facilitation for the Muslims. You could be a person who's good in logistics or in microphones and cameras and recording. You do your part, and there's a person who's speaking. But collectively, we all have to come together to make this da'wah successful. And the da'wah will be successful when we follow the way of the righteous predecessors. So always and forever, no matter how tired the people get, you shouldn't get tired of telling them, yes, I want to follow Islam according to the Quran and the Sunnah with the understanding of the Salaf, the understanding of the Sahaba, the Tabi'in, Atba' Tabi'in. There's nothing other than that. There's nothing acceptable besides that. This is the deen of Islam that Allah is pleased with. If you're trying to offer me something else, I'm not interested. And you shouldn't be interested either. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. Now will come the loaded questions. In this day and age, people use social media a lot and listen to whoever's on there. Can you please mention specific people that should be avoided due to their deviance, and specific people you would recommend? Ouch! Alright, well there you go. Specific people I would recommend would be our brother Muhammad Tim Humble. May Allah bless him. Sheikh Abdul Rahman Hassan. These are in the English world. I'm guessing you're speaking about the English world. We have our brother Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Haqqan, who's also speaks English. Now, here comes the name which nobody wants to hear, or sometimes. Faris Al-Hammadi, in spite of the propaganda against him. And all of these people I mentioned, by the way, are not free from having issues, including myself. So you will always find, if you dig deep enough, you will pull out something. Aha, gotcha. But that's not how the deen works. We're not gotcha people. And I'm not infallible. I'm messed up a couple of times, and so has he and he and he and he. But the overall da'wah is clear cut. And all of these people are calling you straight to the way of the Salaf. No beating around the bush. And these are the people that come to mind right now. You have within your locality, you have the brothers in Bradford Masjid also, our Sheikh Muhammad Hudayfa as well. And those are the people in my circle that I know that speak English, and I see them calling to the same thing that we are advising you call to. As for the people that you should avoid, we will be here till tomorrow. I will go on and on and on and on until you say, Khalas, please give us someone else. I don't know.
Speaker's corner.
Everybody in Speaker's Corner, armi fi zibala. Nih, aigih, jazakallah khair. All of the Speaker Corner brothers, with all due respect to them, maybe I'll make one exception or two exceptions, but fundamentally, Speaker's Corner is not da'wah. This is called a circus, a drama, like a soap opera type of Netflix kind of thing, where people are just going back and forth at each other with 4, 5, 6 microphones, and it's a show. I'm not addressing anyone's sincerity. Wallahi, some of these people could be 100 times better than me. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone, but I'm saying, is this da'wah? Is this actually da'wah? Is this how da'wah is meant to be? Just arguing non-stop with people and screaming over each other and insulting one another? Maybe very few people are actually doing the right thing, but that way of giving da'wah also comes with its own tax. It comes with its own tax. So fundamentally, the people that love to frequent that place, illa man rahim Allah, are ones that you should avoid. Anyone who basically has looked at all the matters that the scholars have clearly declared to be haram, and now are finding ways according to a sheikh where they all became halal, all of these people, you already know that you should set on the side. Right? All of these people you should set on the side. Tamam? The list of deviants, unfortunately, ikhwan, is a very, very, very long list. And I am still reluctant to mention them. By mentioning the good, I've sufficed you from the rest. You understand who the rest are. If I missed out on a couple of good brothers, then may Allah forgive me. Some du'at work with du'at who are known for spreading deviance. They do not publicly correct them or disassociate from them. They excuse that we are advising them in private. What is your advice regarding this? This is nonsense. There are times, there are occasions where you could assess, you do ijtihad per se and say, okay, I'm given access to give da'wah to these people, right? This is the excuse many give you. I'm going to join this darkness upon darkness event because I'm finally going to share the da'wah salafiyah with the people, hooray. Habibi, awalan, we all know that once you've been selected by these people, something is wrong. Asasan. You cannot possibly be calling to the salaf and these people be like, hey, how's it going? Come on, let's go together. No way on planet Earth for you to even be in that circle of people. For you to be there, even if no one said a word, they're basically telling you, you need to follow our path. So you also remain a cute teddy bear, because there's no way they're going to invite you to this event and you're going to sit there and speak the truth in front of everyone and tell them, this and that. You have to now modify your speech to cater for the people in the audience. So you really did not call them to the so-called way of the salaf that you pretended. And those who follow you now see you mixing with these deviants, so they think it's okay. And mind you, guess what? They might actually listen to one of these guys and say, wallah, this guy's top notch. And then they follow them and then they're gone, and it's in your neck on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So it's a very critical matter. Yes, you might sit with someone under certain circumstances to give them da'wah. That's one thing. But to be invited by anyone and share stage with anyone because we're all Muslims giving da'wah, this is a form of deception to the innocent Muslims who cannot differentiate between those things, who cannot tell what's what and who's what. And so no, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Even if you found a scholar who told you otherwise, the scholar does not know the damage that is happening on the ground that we know about. The scholar's view is also ijtihadi. Maybe Allah will forgive him for his mistake and he thought that he gave you the right advice. But we are the ones who are dealing with the ramifications of those actions. We are the ones who are being asked, hey, I saw Fulan, which you once supported or you once spoke good of, with Fulan. Now what? Now what? What do I do? Every day you hear this 50 times, 100 times. It's a problem. The people are confused. So there are limits to who you share the stage with, and no, these matters cannot be compromised. These matters cannot be compromised. And the harm is far greater than the good. At the end of the day, a da'iyah is calling to قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Say, this is my path. I call to Allah, I upon insight, upon knowledge, I and those who follow me. Not calling to anything else. All of these events with candles and flashlights, and you don't know whether you're attending a Christian ceremony or a Muslim event, and people cheering and screaming, and women in the front and women in the back, and women going crazy, and dude is dressed like $1 million. This is taking the deen of Islam and turning it into entertainment. Wallahi, it is not permissible. And it's deceiving the Muslims. And the Muslims are dying in Gaza. It's ironic that those same people that anytime you speak about the truth, they tell you, but the Muslims in Gaza are dying. And then what are you doing? And then what are you doing? What are you doing about the Muslims dying in Gaza? What do we need to do for Allah to change the condition of the Muslims in Gaza and in other places in the world? We know we need to go back to our deen. Are you bringing the people back to their deen? You could listen to a nasheed and cry all night. Are you going to become a good Muslim by listening to a nasheed which touch your heart? Is this how it is? Anybody can give a Christian priest can give you a speech and make you cry. And right now, priests address their congregation in church, and the people get affected and their hearts soften. That's nothing. Sufis do this all day. Sufi in his muraqabah and his sakra, he goes all over the place. You come and say, Sheikh, he says, I was in the haram right now. You don't even know it, Sheikh. I was in the haram praying behind as-Sudais. He didn't even pray dhuhr. Ay kalam, anybody can say anything. All this is just deviance of the highest order. So it's not enough that just to constantly give reminders and say that we're given da'wah. You're not given da'wah. Should we listen to Mufti Mank? No, so no matter how much I try to avoid it, it's just going to be Mufti Mank, absolutely not. Muhammad Hijab, absolutely not. Ali Dawah, absolutely not. Akhi Ayman, absolutely not. Again, ya akhwan, wallahi, this is not what you think. Don't think that this is to me, it's not entertaining. Because it affects the honor of another Muslim. So we have to be clear. I am not speaking about those individuals in terms of what's between them and Allah. This is none of my business. This is none of my business. And I don't dare speak about anyone's personal life. Even though I may know a lot of things about these people's personal life, I will never, ever, ever dare to say a single word to the public. Why? Because this is between them and Allah. It's none of my business. Unfortunately, they don't play that game. These guys, or some of them, if they know something about your personal life, they will threaten you with it. They will twist your arm so that you don't say anything about them. Otherwise, they will tell the world. Private matter, personal sin, aadi to them. It's the deen is a joke. You say something about me, wallah, and they will go and put it out. If you tell me if you think this is sincere, I don't know. All of them probably we went to this with them except Akhi Ayman. I don't know anything about Akhi Ayman except that I've heard a few of his talks, and the brothers told me that للأسف يعني there's some issue, and this brother is a motivational speaker aslan, so you're not going to learn Islam from a motivational speaker. So we can be clear. Let's differentiate between someone and a person can give you a motivation. He could be the most deviant person on earth. I remember I used to go Jama'at Tabligh. Way back when I first learned Islam, I used to go Jama'at Tabligh, and a brother will come give bayan. Oh, this bayan. If you go for 40 days, the wudu which you make is equal to 10,000 shaheed. Ay hadith mufabraka, fabricated narrations which somebody came up with after he ate 14 chickens and 2 beefs. Then he will tell you this hadith is in Fada'il A'mal and Fada'il Sadaqat, and you're like, oh, mashallah. Then you discover that all this has nothing to do with the deen of Allah. I went with these individuals. Were they not moments of spirituality? And they were. I cannot deny. A person will give you a speech and you get affected. So the fact that someone is affecting your heart so that we don't oppress anyone does not mean that speech in and of itself is a problem. That speech could be 5 stars. He probably gave you a good reminder. Ya akhwan, fear Allah, you're gonna die. And then you get Jazakallah khairan. May Allah put it in the scale of good deeds. But does that mean now that I go all the way to the other side and start learning Islam from these individuals? No. Yani ma'alish. If we're gonna Mufti Mank, what are you gonna learn from Mufti Mank? Well, tell me something you learned from Mufti Menk, except how to be a nice guy. Which is cool. If Islam was only how to be a nice guy, Mufti Menk is the top caller to Islam in the world. How to be a nice guy. Hey, nice clothes, if my wife told me to jump, I will jump. If she told me to cock, I will, whatever, what is the term? Like a chicken, what does the chicken say? Yeah, something like that. Do you learn any, have you ever learned like Tawheed or understood the dangers of bid'ah and innovation? Chocolate milk or chocolate man وما أدري أي كلام بأي كلام. All due respect to Mufti Menk, very nice guy, but you're not going to learn Islam. You're going to learn 10% of Islam. 10% of Islam. 90% of Islam, never ever will he speak about it, because the 2 million, 3 million followers will go down to 250,000. Oh, it's a big loss. So I want to please the crowd. How do you please the crowd? You sing their tune. What do you guys want to hear today? You want to hear this? I will come and tell you exactly what you want to hear. So every time I come to this city, say, MashaAllah, this brother, because I'm saying what you want to hear. But that's being insincere and deceptive. Muhammad hijab, yani, is it really appropriate to speak about the scholars the way they're spoken about? Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, the things that were said about Shaykh al-Albani, or using the next level philosophy to give da'wah, and then all the other things that are happening right now in the name of da'wah, in the name of Islam, haram, wallahi haram. May Allah forgive us and forgive him. But surely you will learn a bunch of things that oppose the way of the Prophet ﷺ in the process. Ali da'wah, as everybody knows, Ali needs da'wah. Wallahi, Ali needs da'wah. And we try to give him da'wah, but if you give him da'wah, you become a backstabber opportunist. And don't you dare speak about our brother Ali da'wah. So yeah, that's, wallahi, it's a sad situation that we have to say these things, but if that's the question I received, then I have to entertain the question. And I was trying to be a little bit mindful of the audience, because I know this may suit everybody, right? This may not suit everybody. And that's part of also being, aware of your environment and your audience. But I suppose I also have an obligation to be honest if I'm asked, and so I answer accordingly. May Allah forgive us and forgive them. May Allah guide them. Mind you, we're not sad, we're not happy, afwan, if they fail. Wallahi, we're sad. Wallahi, I'm sad. Because these brothers have following, have reach, and they have the ability to benefit the Muslims in so many great ways. And unfortunately, they have misused their position in that manner. Instead of benefiting the Muslims and being a source of khair for them, they have confused them more about their deen. So this is the sad thing. We may joke every now and then and laugh every now and then, but in reality, it's a very sad state. And if Allah were to guide them, and they will become upon the way of the Salaf, wallahi, I will host them all on my channel. And I will put them on my head. And I will disappear if necessary. If they're able to reach the people that I'm trying to reach, and they suffice me, and they're better than me, I'm more than happy for them. This is not about personal beef with anyone. Someone stole my car. Someone took my money. We don't, there's no such thing. This is only about what is correct in da'wah and what is not correct in da'wah. And therefore, even with them, we have to be just. They have done some good. They have helped in so many ways. They've had people revert into Islam. All this Allah will account them for on Yawm al-Qiyamah. This does not mean, though, I'm going to turn a blind eye about the clear-cut errors, clear-cut misguidance, clear-cut deviance that they're propagating on daily basis. Are we all clear? Inshallah. Now, any other questions, ya akhwan, from the floor, as they say? Literally from the floor. Hi, Captain.
You know how...
No, I don't know.
You know the door, the one you were saying about the tasbih being bid'ah?
Hey, with Sheikh Zafar?
Yeah. So, my grandma, she's been using the tasbih.
Hey.
I've told her not to use it because of bid'ah. She's not listening to me, so what should I do?
You should let someone else handle it.
No, because even
you listen. Your grandma is like your mother, okay, or like it depends on maternal or paternal. But she has a very high position in the family. It's very difficult for her to take advice from her grandchild. Okay, you have to understand that. You could be 100% correct. She could be 100% wrong. But something in the older people, the elderly, it makes it very difficult for them to accept advice from younger people, especially way younger people, right? So you have received or reached a certain understanding. That's beautiful. Someone else, her age, has to deliver that message to her. Okay, you don't try to give your grandmother a hard time. Every time you see her with the sabha, say, "Ya mubtadi'a, innovator, stop ya grandma, what are you doing? A'udhu billah." It's not going to work in the family. You will not have any more soup. She will not cook for you. And then you will go to sleep with no pajamas, no blanket, just be cold and let you die in the cold. Can't play games with your grandmother. You obey your grandmother, you listen to her, you're nice to her. Someone older than you will advise her on this issue. Clear? تفضل يا شيخ.
You already mentioned Surah Al-Ikhlas.
نعم.
What were the ayah or hadith would you say is like fundamental for dawah?
Meaning to deliver to the people. إنهم كانوا إذا قيل لهم لا إله إلا الله يستكبرون ويقولون إنا لتاركوا آلهتنا لشاعر مجنون بل جاء بالحق وصدق المرسلين. It used to be whenever it was said to mankind at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was Quraysh. La ilaha illallah, they will become arrogant. And they would say, are we going to leave our aliha, our gods, for a crazy poet? بل جاء بالحق وصدق المرسلين. Allah said, rather he has come with the truth and he confirmed the messengers before him. This ayah, my brother, is telling you that your job is to deliver La ilaha illallah to the people. And your expectation should be that they're going to say that you're crazy and you're mad. Meaning, fundamentally you will give da'wah and fundamentally they will reject. And they will call you names. The problem will be in you. So if the messengers before you receive this kind of feedback, then you should be expecting a similar kind of feedback. So don't let that turn you off or put you off from continue to give da'wah. Right? You continue to give da'wah. Allah may guide them 10 years from now, 15 years from now, through someone else. But our job is to continue to give da'wah. Clear? If I answered you incorrectly, tell me. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I was asking.
See, I know, I had a feeling. Your face is saying a lot of things.
I was like just going on a tangent, but
Yeah, well, I got these issues, I know.
what would you say are the main ayah to memorize first to understand the meaning?
I'll WhatsApp them to you. I've actually compiled, for those who care, one of these Ramadans, subhanAllah, I thought of it, I thought maybe it would be beneficial for me and for the Muslims, is, you know how you try to read the Quran in Ramadan as much as you can. So I figured I will copy paste. When you have a Samsung phone, you have a lot of other advantages that iPhone users don't have, just for the record. So because of these features that the phones offer me, I was easily able to copy and paste the Arabic and the English text onto a document, a Samsung Notes document. And I compiled basically all the ayat which I thought, in my humble opinion, were relevant for da'wah or should be memorized by a student of knowledge from the beginning, from Surah Al-Fatiha until Surah Al-Nas. And I have them all there in one document. I think the brothers who attended the Dawah in Bradford asked for it, I shared it with them. I'll get your number or you get my number, I'll share it with you as well, inshallah. But it's a homework though. It's a homework. It's a lot of ayat to memorize. But once you have them, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, you'll be top notch. Tfaddal. Anta, you want to get me arrested or something, ya Shaykh?
Speakers called non-Rashid, is he reliable to listen to?
I don't know. Non-Rashid, from what I know, is that he's not reliable to listen to. Why would we listen to dubious individuals? Why do we listen to someone who does not explicitly call you to the proper belief system? From what I know about him, may Allah guide us and guide him. Again, these people could be better in the sight of Allah than me, but unfortunately, he's not among the list of people that we refer to when we learn Islam, neither in Arabic nor in English. Tamam? We are very selective. Let's say you had a disease, la qaddar Allah, or anyone had a disease. Do we go ask everybody in the street, or do we find the finest specialists in the country, maybe 3-4 doctors, and we ask those people because they are qualified and they have experience? You don't ask everybody. Why is it when it comes to Islam, we're just going to listen to everybody and ask everybody? No, we have to be very selective. 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals. By the way, 5 speakers is more than enough. Are you really going to listen to all of their classes? Like the brothers I mentioned to you. You know how many classes they have on weekly basis? You will not keep up. Between Amau and Gardens of Ilm, and one way to paradise, and whatchamacallit, you will not be able to keep up in terms of durus. So that's more than enough. Don't add more people to the list just for the sake of having them. Stick to those, inshallah, and you can exclude me, by the way. ما عندي مشكلة. At least for the others, listen and learn from them, you'll be good to go, inshallah. Aywa, Captain.
What is your advice towards memorization of Quran? Like nothing. That's nothing.
Wallahi, you have to ask the experts in this. I don't claim to be an expert in memorizing the Quran. My son Mussab, Zallah khair, I think he's figured it out, so you can ask him when we're done, inshallah. He's better than me in this regard. Aywa. Aywa.
And then they have some knowledge about Islam, which they learn from another Muslim.
Okay.
Isn't practically 100% correct.
Okay.
But I want to correct them, like the same way you don't want to say the other Muslim was 100% wrong, like they're not just like shame them.
Yes.
At the same time, you don't want to say that 100% right.
Understand. Yeah, you select your words carefully. This is called disclaimers. You give disclaimers, just like I gave a bunch of disclaimers right now, so that no one can misconstrue my speech. So if you have another Muslim who taught this non-Muslim something about Islam that is not wrong, or that is not correct, and you don't want to be a savage and tell him, oh, forget about what this guy said. He has no idea what he's talking about. That's actually undermining your Muslim brother. So you give disclaimers and you select your words. Look, a lot of Muslims are so eager to share Islam with you. Not everybody is learned. Some people know, some people make mistakes. So perhaps that person, out of eagerness, out of care for you, because how much they are excited to invite you to Islam, they might have shared information that is not correct. The actual correct information is such and such because Allah says like this in the Quran, or the Prophet ﷺ said this in the Sunnah, right? So you maintain the honor of your fellow Muslim, and you also inform the person that you're a person who follows the evidence, not the opinions of people. So you get two birds with one stone, or with even half a stone.
In the Dawah, the only day I came, when Ustad Tim Humble was teaching about the Asharis and the Sufis and the Mu'tazila, you know what it says there? One of the Imams of the Asharis opened up a door for the Sufis by worshipping. They opened the door by saying that one of the Imams said that you only have to believe Allah as the Creator.
Yes.
So, can you know the Sufis? You know the places they take the evidence and stuff. Like they say, like.
Are you giving a lecture? You asking me a question? And the people are gonna kick me and you out of the masjid, man.
So you know how most of them say there's a good bidah and there's a bad bidah.
Okay.
In my school, sometimes when they have that molding and etc., they come to me. They start saying, "Do you believe this? You believe this?" I said no. But then they say it's a good bidah. So what should I come up with? Because what should I say to them in reply?
You should watch my lecture, The Extermination of Innovation. I have a lecture titled The Extermination of Innovation. Type it up on YouTube and type next to it Abu Mussab or Wajdi, which is my first name, and watch it, because inshallah this lecture is a compilation of all the evidences we use to prove that there's no such thing as a good bid'ah. There is no good innovation in Islam. All innovations in Islam are bad. Once you understand it, inshallah you'll be able to deal with the other mawlid issues and things of this nature. Any other questions besides the young man? No more questions for you. You're going to get us in trouble with the uncles.
Sheikh, thoughts on Yasir Qadi?
Yasir Qadi? La ya Sheikh. Hold on, this has turned into something else. You guys are wilding out in this masjid, man. I've never had this happen in the masjid. I mean, I can do this from home, right? I have a camera, I can speak whatever I want, but to do this in front of people is actually very awkward. Wallah, it's very awkward to be like naming these people like all in one shot. Yasir Qadi he's flirting with disbelief. He's at a level where the man's iman is questionable. The things that he said, visiting Sharia, reconsidering penal codes in Islam, removing certain ahkam that Allah Azza wa Jal revealed depending on the country and the context and the people. These are, man, things that no Muslim will ever say. No matter how deviated you are, you draw the line somewhere. Even the most wicked of the people, they know where to draw the line when it comes to this issue. So, his statements about him having doubts, after he went to Yale and doubting the preservation of the Quran and all of the stunts he pulled. You cannot delete them, right? You can remove them from YouTube and you could try to claim otherwise, but they remain to be there. Those facts remain to be there. And they're echoed every now and then in various talks, and they're, inserted in the speech. So Yasir Qadi used to be a very knowledgeable person. We used to love for the sake of Allah when he first came out. And subhanAllah, we ask Allah to guide him back to the truth. He lost the way big time. And with the passage of time, it just gets worse. Every time he discusses a critical issue, he comes up with opinions that are shadh, unaccepted by the scholars. He's followed the footsteps of the people of the Wahhabi, Salafi, Madkhali, and he's going using the same rhetoric of all these people that have no substance, but they just want to criticize you because why not? That's a very dangerous path, man. So sadly for Yasir Qadi, he's going to have to do a lot of work if he ever does to come back. And if he comes back, we'll treat him the same way we treated him in the past, or like the other brothers, no problem. We all make mistakes, we all repent. But are they willing to repent? Are they willing to admit that they have gone off the track? This is the question mark, and this is the point of contention. Allah musta'an. Please, no more people. Hi, Shaykh. Alaikum salam.
As you said, there's so many ideas and methodologies now recently. Sometimes you find yourself like your family members or friends like you are giving that to their consuming different things. What's the best way into helping them flow in the correct way, or maybe reading a book or watching a lecture? What's your advice to that?
My advice is build bonds with people based on mutual interests, even though those mutual interests are not of da'wah nature. You play football, you go to the gym, you do something, you bring those people. Family members love to play with family members. So every week you go play football, and then after football you have dinner, and then that becomes your thing, right? That becomes your weekly thing. And now you're building relationship. Eventually, at any point in time, religion is going to be discussed. Those matters are going to be discussed. So you start giving them da'wah gently, like in installments, slowly but surely, until you, and the brother was just telling us right now, they used to do this, like they go bowling, and they would eat dinner and go bowling every week. And they used to, get people that had no interest in Islam, people that were not practicing Islam. They continue to do this until these people now join them. And now, mashallah, they've become righteous brothers and good brothers. So, you have to think outside the box. Sometimes, and especially nowadays, you can't just always be straightforward. You see someone walking and say, come here, let me give you da'wah. I think you need da'wah. He's going to tell you, I think you need da'wah too. And that's how people are right now. Many people, when you advise them, they turn around and advise you. Are we competing in advice? But take my advice irrelevant, irrespective of you wanting to advise me. Choose another occasion. Go pray. Your beard is too short. So what does that have to do with you not praying? Wait, after 1 week, tell me, Jazakallah khair for advising me to pray. By the way, akhi, why do you trim your beard? There you go. But this retaliation of you give me advice, I'm going to find a mistake in you to give you advice in return and not act upon your advice, is ludicrousness. Is rejecting the truth also. So you cannot always be this blunt and straightforward. You build relations with people. You invite them to dinner, you do this and you do that until the soil is fertile for da'wah. Then you plant your seeds and you plant your flowers and your trees and whatever you want, and Allah brings whatever good He wants to bring. Don't play with the tripod, Habibi. Ya Captain, wallah حتعملنا مشكلة أنت.
So you know how Yasir Qadi.
لا, no more Yasir. خلاص Yasir Qadi done. لا, forgive me. Tell them, can you eat pig if you say Bismillah? Yeah, they say that too. You can even eat pork if you say Bismillah. Then they haven't read the Quran. I think you're referring to people that talk about halal meat. Right? You're referring to people that say the halal meat, you're living in a Christian country, you don't know how the meat was slaughtered. The scholars differ on this issue. Some of the scholars say, as long as you're in a Christian country, and then you can say Bismillah and eat. Tamam? If it's slaughtered by Jews or Christians, their slaughter is halal. Some scholars add the condition that you have to know how they slaughtered the animal. How was the animal actually slaughtered as per Islamic ways? Because the Jews and the Christians at the time of the Prophet ﷺ used to follow the Islamic way of slaughtering the animal, which is a nahr, and then they let the blood flow. Nowadays they use electric shocks and they use a hammer, and they might shoot the animal. Even if a Muslim did that, you can no longer eat that meat. If the animal died and it wasn't slaughtered because they beat it or they electrocuted it, even if a Muslim did it, it's no longer halal meat. But some of the scholars say you're not required to inquire. You're not required to investigate. You're not a detective. You didn't go to the slaughterhouse and say, "Wakhir, let me see what you're doing here." Or let me see. You cannot do all this. This is mashaqqa. This is hardship upon the people. And some say, no, you have to make sure that at least they're following the Islamic way. Then even if they didn't say Bismillah, yes, you say Bismillah and you eat. Based on the hadith of Aisha. They said, we get meat from these people. We don't know whether you said Bismillah or not. The Prophet ﷺ said, you say Bismillah and you eat. What's the safer opinion? To only eat halal meat. Whenever there's a doubt and you're not a student of knowledge where you're able to scrutinize the subject and read what the ulama said and what their justification, the hadith of Adi ibn Hatim, and because the scholars will mention the hadith for each opinion. If you're unable to go through all this and you just want to play safe, eat tuna. Just eat tuna. Or eat only halal meat from halal restaurant. Leave alone the places that are questionable. If you're a student of knowledge and you've reached the conclusion that it is halal to eat as long as it's a Jew or a Christian country, then you can knock yourself out and eat any meat anywhere. Not recommended, but understandable. Alright, I got the sign. It's over. Jazakumullahu khairan. Forgive me anyone. Forgive me anyone and everyone if I have offended you, if I went overboard, if I hurt your feelings, if I spoke about your favorite speaker and bashed him directly or indirectly. Forgive me. That is not my intention. Or it could be my intention and this is part of my shortcoming, so you can still forgive me. Even if it was bad and with malice. But the greater objective is I'm trying to be honest with you about what I see and what I know of the da'wah. And Allah is the one who grants success. You may accept, you may reject. There's nothing but love for you, no hard feelings, no grudge against anyone and everyone. Even if you disagree with me, I love you for the sake of Allah. You're my Muslim brothers. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.